Greetings, everybody. Welcome. My name is Jeff Kerensky, and I am the Executive Vice President at the Property and Liability Resource Bureau. Today's presentation is Social Distancing. Learn how PLRB can provide you with claim support. The presenters today, besides myself, are Andrew Lucius, our Geospatial Specialist for PLRB, and David Fox, Coverage Counsel for PLRB. And behind the scenes are Tonda Lee, Educational Counsel at PLRB, and Teresa Arnold, Senior Programmer for PLRB. They will both be helping with tech issues and polling questions that we will have. A few ground rules for today's program. The program is designed to last between an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. It includes audience of insurance claim professionals from all over the United States. It's designed for our members. We ask that everybody please mute your phone or your speakers so we don't get feedback or echoing in the background. Right now it sounds perfect. I don't hear any background noise. You absolutely are encouraged to communicate with us by submitting questions or comments to any of us throughout the presentation. Through the questions pane on the control panel. And Tonda will be monitoring those and will either ask the questions during the presentation or at the very end during the question and answer portion. So as soon as you think of a question, just type it in. Lastly, the program will be recorded and will be made available to our members on our website, so that if there's something that you need to hear again or you think someone that you work with would benefit from hearing this, they'll be able to listen to a taped. So I hope that everyone is healthy and safe and adapting to the social distancing that we have all had to adapt to in some form. And we know that many of you, due to COVID-19 restrictions, may find yourselves suddenly working from home or in a more isolated environment where the support you are accustomed to is not as readily available. We know that there are many remote workers, and so working from home may not be unusual, but perhaps the people that you would normally reach out to are more difficult to connect with. So the goal of this webinar is to educate you on all of the products and services that are part of your PLRB membership that are readily available to you by phone or by internet. And know that PLRB has always been available as an online support for claims handling issues. Now, there is a distinction between property and liability membership. Some insurance companies have a property only membership, some have a liability only, and many have both property and liability memberships. I believe we also have some affiliate members who are service providers online, and they have a more limited access. They don't get access to most of the legal materials, but as far as the education, building code, and weather catastrophe materials, they do have access to. So just be aware that we're going to go over everything. And if you have problems accessing something, you can contact us. It may be that you have a different type of membership. But we want to be sure to show you everything so that you can be sure to take full advantage of whatever your PLRB membership is, particularly during this period of social distancing where you may not have as many resources available. So before we dive into this webinar, let's start with an initial polling question that will help us kind of know how deep to dive into some of the information we're going to go over. So Tonda, can you start with the first polling question?
Yes, Jeff. What best describes your experience with PLRB's website? None, limited, some knowledge of it, very familiar.
All right, so while people are telling us what their background is, I thought I would start by telling people what PLRB's background is. We are a national nonprofit trade association. We provide training and education to the insurance industry, and each company belongs to us based upon a membership, which they pay a flat fee, and there are no additional costs other than your flat fee. So the great thing about the things that we're going to go over today is there are no additional costs that you have to worry about. Every single thing that we go over today, if it's something that could help you in your claims handling, don't be afraid to reach out and call us or go online and access it, because it's part of your membership, and there's nothing that you could do that would cause any additional fees to be incurred for your company. So, Tanda, how are we doing on poll results?
Great, Jeff. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll at this time and share the results. 10% said none, 22% said limited, 44% said some knowledge of it, and 24% said very familiar. Back to you, Jeff.
All right. Well, that is helpful. By knowing this, it doesn't look like we have a ton of experts. About 25%, it sounds like, are about experts. But it does sound like there's kind of a medium mix. So what we'll do is we'll kind of do a medium detail. I won't dive into great detail as we go along, but if I go too fast, or something isn't clear, by all means, hit that question section on the panel, and either during the presentation or at the very end, we will be happy to address your specific question. So PLRB has really 5 departments, 2 legal departments, one that is property, one that is a liability. Those are our coverage departments. And then we have a building code department, an education department, and a weather catastrophe department. In this webinar today, I am going to go over numbers 1, 2, and 3, and then I'm going to pass the baton to Andrew, and Andrew is going to dive into the weather cat department. I like Andrew to do it. He does it better than I do, as he can go live and show all the really cool graphs and charts that they have available. And then David will finish it off by going to our homepage and showing you after how to actually navigate and locate some of the things that I'll be going over and Andrew will be going over. So let's jump into the property and liability legal departments. The first thing that you should know is in our coverage database, which is online, we have all kinds of policy annotations: homeowners, business owners, commercial, builders risk. For you liability and auto members, we have personal auto, commercial auto, garage, So you can scroll through an actual policy and find the particular provision that you're interested in or concerned about. And we have discussions about every single condition, exclusion, any type of language that you are not sure how courts have interpreted. We have a discussion which includes up-to-date case summaries, so you can find out how your particular jurisdiction may have interpreted that policy language. We also have state-by-state annotations on a wide variety of coverage issues, like how do you measure actual cash value, how are vacancy provisions enforced, what is an ensuing loss, emerging issues, FAQs and Q&As. We have all kinds of coverage discussions there. And then we also have coverage questions that people have asked us. We always eliminate anything that would identify the insured or the insurance company, but that way you can see how we've responded to perhaps a similar question. You can always ask a coverage question. So if you are stuck and you can't reach your supervisor or coworker, and you are a insurance company member, you can reach out to PLRB online or over the phone, and they will answer your coverage question. They try to respond within 5 business days. We handle over 1,000 of these a year. And if you're dealing with a liability multi-account complaint, you can submit that to the coverage attorneys as well, and they will go count by count and tell you whether or not there is a duty to defend. So that really is a nice, helpful resource available to you, and you can call them up and talk to them as well. We also have all kinds of statutory and regulatory bulletins. We summarize them, bullet points typically, to try and just tell you what they mean so you don't have to read through all the therefore, wherefore, henceforth language and other legalese. We cut to the chase and tell you what the Department of Insurance or governmental entities have recently released. We track all 50 states, actually, of the Department of Insurance. Most recently, this may be something that is probably of interest to everybody. If you go to our homepage, plrb.org, at the very front of the homepage, there's this red bulletin at the top that says Coronavirus Disease COVID-19 Resources. And if you click on that, you will get a screen that is just about COVID-19. It contains emergency orders. It contains maps, as you can see here, showing numbers of cases. There's something up here that says click on a state to view links. If you click on that, it will take you to the individual states down below. So there's a state here. I could click on Illinois or Iowa. Excuse me, and it will tell you exactly what bulletins have been issued by the Department of Insurance. So it could be like a grace period for claims, or it could be something about, for example, there's one that just came out the other day. This is more for underwriting, but when people call up and ask about business income losses, they are not supposed to somehow, when they're rating them, view them as a higher risk because they've already inquired about that. So that is basically the coverage portion, or the COVID portion. We also do catastrophe bulletins, so for example, hurricane bulletins, things like that. Hopefully we don't have any, but we are getting near the season. And then we have case law reviews. So case law reviews, we write up 600 or so cases a year. They contain a quick in brief. So you can see here in this orange rectangle, it's a quick summary of what the case stands for. And we try really hard to eliminate all legal language. We don't even use plaintiff or defendant. We say insured or policyholder. We give you a link whenever possible to the actual court opinion. And then we have a comment section, which is really one of the most important places to go to, because the comment section will tell you what the case means in the big picture. Because you can read a case and it can be really an odd case that conflicts with the majority of other cases out there, and that's something that's really important to know. So if you scroll down in our law review to the comment section, it's really where we can tell you what we think, where the case stands. Another thing that we have is adjuster resource sheets. So this is a list of just some of the newer property things that we have created in the past year, but I've highlighted adjuster resource sheets. And condominium claims I've also circled, which is really one of the adjuster resource sheets. What we've done is we've created a 1 to 2 page bullet point list of things that you should consider when you are talking to an insured or investigating a loss. So for example, the condominium claims, top 10 questions. It just simply gives you an idea of things you might want to ask for when you talk to your insured, so that you don't have to go back out there or call them back up again. It's just a quick way of kind of going through things to make sure you didn't forget anything. On the liability side, they'll have new things involving CGL coverage for employment practices, liability claims, and alternative litigation funding. These are all searchable. Excuse me. Our next department is building code. And the building code department is relatively new. You can submit a building code question. So if you need to find a particular code or you're not sure what the code actually requires, you can go online and submit that question. We are in the process of populating it. So we don't have every single state and every jurisdiction. If you don't find what you're looking for online, again, submit the question directly to us and we will retrieve the building code database from other sources. We have both state and local building codes. You can click on a picture of a building and read more about general overview about things like roofs or handrails or steps. And we have frequently asked questions about building codes. Our third department is the education department. And the education department has conferences and expos. We did cancel our claims conference this year due to COVID-19, and our technology and claims symposium was postponed until August of this year. And we still are planning on having these other ones that are listed here, but obviously it all will depend on what the circumstances are with COVID-19. And you can get CE and CLE available at these conferences. But what about now? Now is the time that you are social distancing and stuck at home. We have distance learning modules. So we have 85 CE approved modules that you can take, business income module, program and certification, and we have training curriculums if you want to learn more if you are a property or casualty adjuster. And they're available 24/7. We also have monthly webinars. Those are continuing, and we record them all so that you can go back and listen to any that are of particular relevance. And a newer thing that we have are podcasts, which are 45-minute interviews, and they're with different experts. Really very popular, growing in terms of viewership. Other educational resources, and these are things that may be helpful for those of you at home who don't have as many experts to ask. One is the home reference book, and I like this one because it's got pictures, lots of pictures. So if you have a loss involving a French drain or an ice dam, you might not know specifically, you may know insurance well and coverage well, but you don't understand the construction building side of things. And before you reach out to a contractor or a public adjuster or an insured, it's helpful if you can first understand how these things work. And that's what this home reference book is designed for. Business income worksheet, this is designed for small businesses. So if you're new to business income claims, this might be helpful to you. Building damage videos, same thing. It's nice examples. And then learning paths, which are something that we're actually developing right now, which are going to be shorter training courses as opposed to the 2-hour modules that we have. So now I'm going to pass it over to Andrew, and he will dive into the last department. Andrew, do you want to take it away?
Okay, thanks, Jeff. So I'll start off by doing a few historical weather searches using some of our most popular web apps. First, I'll be demoing a hail search. For that, I'll go to Weather Cats, Weather Research, and then Hail Web App. So when the web app loads, you get a splash screen. You can click on OK. And over in the top right is where we can enter an address. So I'll go ahead and do that. In this case, I'll just enter a city-state. And that will zoom to the area. Over here on the left, we can enter a date range. In this case, I just have one date in mind of March 18th. So the end date will also be March 18th. And when I click apply, that will automatically apply the date filter to the layers over here on the right. I'm going to close that for now. And it will also automatically turn on the hail reports map layer. So these are called into the National Weather Service by trained storm spotters. And we can click on a hail report. Here we see 2.25-inch hail was reported in that general area. And then we can also click on this hail report. It's actually 2 in the area, 1 and 1.25 inch. Next we'll make this next-red hail size estimates layer visible by clicking on this checkbox. So this is useful for when limited amounts of hail spotter reports are available. This data is only considered approximate, and it's possible hail may have fallen outside of the polygon areas. So I'm going to zoom in just a tad, and we can click on a polygon region. Here we see the date and the maximum hail size estimate of the day for that general area of 1.25 inch. This data is based on radar data that we run through a script to create these hail size estimate polygons. And then finally, we also archive severe thunderstorm warnings. So I can go ahead and check that box. And here we see there's a severe thunderstorm warning polygon region. We can click on that area, and as you can see, we see the start time and end time of the warning. We can also click on this link here, and that will open up a new link from Iowa Environmental Mesonet, and they actually archive all of the text products of the National Weather Service. So here we see the original text of the warning. We have some location information, hazard, source, potential impact, hail damage to vehicles was expected. Okay, next we can move to a wind tornado research demo. For that, I'll go back to the home page, and under Weather Research, I'll click on Wind Tornado Web App. And again, click on OK. In this case, I have a specific address in mind in Georgia. So that will zoom to the area. And then next I'll enter a date range. In this case, I will do April 24th as the end date, then click Apply. And then when I click Apply, as you notice, it will automatically filter these layers by the date and then also make them visible. So here we see any preliminary wind reports, tornado reports. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Click on this wind report here. Here we see several structures damaged. And then we also include any damage assessments. So whenever wind damage from a possible tornado or severe thunderstorm is reported to the National Weather Service, meteorologists from the local forecast office are assembled into a damage assessment team and tasked with surveying the damage to determine if it was caused by a tornado or straight line wind. So we can click on this polygon damage path and get a summary of the tornado. They also include damage assessment points, and these refer to individual structures that were damaged. So I'm going to zoom in just a tad there. And we can click on one of these data points. And here we see the storm date, survey date, type of structure damaged, estimated wind speed. Oftentimes they include a link to a photo that they take out in the field, so we can go ahead and click on that. So here we can see some roof damage. Next, we also archive weather observation station data. So this is coming from over 1,200 weather stations across the U.S., most of them at airports. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit to see if we can find that one. Okay, so here we see that observation station. And that will have information like the highest wind gust of the day, the highest sustained wind speed of the day, precipitation, snowfall amounts, high and low temperatures. And then finally, we also include any wind-related warnings, so severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings. And I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. And then you can click on the area there. We can see that there was a severe thunderstorm warning, a tornado warning, and then a couple others throughout the day. So close that. So next we'll go to a lightning demo, and for that I'll go back to the home page. And under lightning, click on that. And here I'll enter the same address as before. That will zoom to the area. In this case, I'll just enter a date of April 23rd. Click on search. So for many years, PLRB has been archiving lightning probability forecasts. These forecasts are updated hourly, and then at PLRB we aggregate the hourly forecasts into a highest lightning probability of the day as a percentage. So that's what you're seeing here, 100%. And then just this past January, we began archiving general areas of lightning detected by satellite. This instrument is called the Geostationary Lightning Mapper from the GOES-R satellite. And it detects lightning at the tops of clouds 24/7. It detects both cloud-to-cloud and cloud-to-ground lightning. It cannot distinguish between the two, however. And the resolution can range from a few square kilometers to much more. So that's why we say it's considered a general area of lightning. It won't have a pinpoint accuracy. So we feel these two data sets can help claims departments quickly see if lightning has existed in the area of a claimant. So next, I want to navigate to our Catastrophe Services Maps and Apps portal. So that's under Weather Research as well. And Maps and Apps portal home. So our portal is kind of like a gallery for all of our interactive maps. And we don't have time to go through all of them, but I just wanted to quickly scroll through this window to kind of show you what we offer. So we have a current weather web app, which displays data like hurricane tracks and real-time storm reports. We have earthquakes, hail data. We do create storm-specific web apps for major hurricanes, which includes track information, storm reports, and sometimes aerial imagery. We have some risk analysis maps, wildfires, and a few more. And then if we click this PDF, that will open up an in-depth guide to the WeatherCat data that we archive here at PLRB. And if you'd like, we can send you this for review. Finally, I just wanted to briefly mention we send out 2 email alerts every morning. One is called the Severe Storm and Occurrence Summary. And let me just navigate there 1 second. And it's a state-by-state detailed summary of the previous 24 hours worth of storm reports. And then the email will link you to this webpage here with a list of the reports. And then we also include a TXT file with the email if you would like to import that into your own database. Then we also send out a threats assessment email. It's under Threats Overview. So this will be the typical look of the email. And it details forecasted weather events for the next few days. Our main focus is severe weather and tropical weather, but we also touch on fire weather, heavy snow and icing, and precipitation and flooding. So that concludes the WeatherCat segment of the webinar. Now I will turn it over to David Fox, Property Coverage Counsel. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Yes, my name's David Fox. I'm one of the coverage attorneys, and I'm on the first-party property side of the office. And in today's demonstration, we're going to be live on the website. And I typically use a hypothetical question and work through it. So we're going to have a policyholder that claims that her home in Lubbock, Texas was damaged in a hailstorm on March 18th and needs a new roof. And you've been assigned to the loss. So we just saw with Andrew that we went into the WeatherCat section from the home page and saw that there was hail in the area. And you've gone out and you've seen that there was hail damage to the roof, and now you're getting ready to write the estimate. So one of your questions is, in adjusting this roof loss, you need to see if there's a building code that requires an ice barrier or a drip edge. So we're on the home page, plrb.org. you've logged on with your password that uses your company email address. And we hover over coverage research, and we see a number of things in the drop-down menu, and one of them is building codes. So we're going to click on that, and that page opens up. And there's a number of ways that we could get in to building codes. We could do a word search, and here we could just do a word search on Lubbock, Texas, and click Find Code. And what comes up in our Coveo system, it automatically clicked on building codes for us because we came from there. And I'm going to open that up, and we see some information on ice barriers. Are ice barriers required in Lubbock? No. Is the drip edge required? Yes. As Jeff mentioned, not all states, cities, municipalities are located in here, but this one is. We're going to go back for a minute here. And so we went on a word search. We could also go alphabetical. I'm going to click on that. And this was Texas. So I'll click on Texas, and it was Lubbock. And we get to the same information. I'm going to go back to building codes. And another way in here, we could do an address search right here, or we could click on maps and this GIS map of codes and click on that. And we're going to put the address in here. And we had that Lubbock, Texas, locate code. And so we see that that code is here. We could get into the building code. We got into it the same way, but what I wanted to go out. I guess it's best if we go back. What I wanted to do is locate code. This is the one that I wanted. And we're going to go out. And we can see the outline of where the code applies. So you can see that if you had an address here that had Lubbock, Texas, that code might not apply. So we're going to go here, click on building codes. Now, one way, if we did this search and there wasn't anything here, we could click on something here to have the building codes department do a search for you. But I wanted to go back here to building codes and ask PLRB. And I'll click on that. And here we could put in the, fill in the information, and the building codes department will do the research for you. Like I say, if you do a search and nothing's there, you can ask the building codes department to do a search on that particular jurisdiction. We're building this section of the website at the moment. So we decided that I think that we needed a drip edge, but not an ice barrier. So now your adjuster has estimated the cost to repair the roof with the drip edge, no ice barrier, at $10,287. The adjuster then subtracted depreciation of $3,043 on costs of labor, materials, and sales tax, and subtracted a deductible of $500, arriving at an ACV cost of $6,743. The insured got back to you as the adjuster, and they're questioning whether you can depreciate these various costs. So we want to do some research. We're on the home page, plrb.org, coverage research, PLRB search powered by Coveo, and we're going to click on that. A dialog box comes up, and we're going to start typing in ACV, so it recognizes typical abbreviations, and depreciation of labor. And now we see the collection type over here. There's a number of different items. As Jeff mentioned, there are annotations. Those are on the particular sections of the policy. I could click on homeowner's annotation, actual cash value, loss settlement. And in here, when I open up one of these annotations, first there's an in brief telling about it. And one of the things here, I said this was actual cash value loss settlement, and it says HO 9495. That's just PLRB's chapter or key number. It doesn't mean that it's a policy number. People will get back to me and said, well, I had an HO3 policy, not an HO 94 policy. It's like, no, this is just our chapter or key number. We see a table of contents, and I see something on depreciation. I could look at that. Just going to page down for a minute. Here's the policy wording. This is the ISO policy wording that we're allowed to use, and we put that in there. And then I'll just click for a minute on depreciation of labor. And this is a general discussion on depreciation of labor that has case law in it that we've been made aware of. And so this is case law from various jurisdictions. Might not include your jurisdiction. So we did that search. I could have clicked BP annotation. We'd get to the same information. So, but what I also see here is there's something the state by state. Jeff mentioned that we have state by state documents. So I'm going to click on that. And there appears to be a state by state document. I could have limited it to the states down here. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to put Texas. And that limits to the state here. And so here's the document that we've gathered on depreciation of labor, overhead, and profit, and from the state of Texas. And we see that there's some information here. I'm going to page down a little bit. May depreciation of labor be taken? Well, here we're not aware of any cases, except we say we'll see just this information below. And Texas courts have offered some information on overhead and profit and sales tax. And there happen to be two cases that we're aware of. And then Texas issued a bulletin. Jeff mentioned that we put these bulletins online. I could click out to that. But we see from this case law that it's reasonable to conclude in Texas with regard to replacement cost policies covering residential properties, overhead and profit may not be deducted from ACV, but may be depreciated. So we could see that our loss happened in Lubbock, Texas, so that's why we went here, and we see that that's state by state. Now we're going to go back here for a minute, and I clicked on it. Another way of getting in here is you see this I over here on the right. I'm going to click on the I, and that opens a screen, and so the terms that you searched on are highlighted. And I could go down through the document that way and get to that particular section. This is helpful sometimes when there's a very long document, or if you just want to see in the document where the term that you searched on is located. So we see that we have that figure, and now the insured comes back to you and says, well, I'm assigning my benefits over to my contractor. And you want to see if that's possible in the state of Texas. So we are going to go back to the homepage, plrb.org, coverage research, PLRB search powered by Coveo. We're going to click on that. And we're going to start typing assignment of benefits. And again, we see the various types of documents that we could look at. We could see the states. We'll go ahead and say, oh, we want Texas. So I will click on that. I've limited it to what I put in here. We liked those state by states. So I'm going to click on that. Here, a Texas assignment of post-loss benefits. So this is another one of our state by states that we've gathered. And we can see that there is some case law in Texas dealing with that. Again, not all states. This is not a hot button issue in all states. Here there is some information in Texas. I'm going to go back here for a minute. I'm going to click on Florida. Florida, a lot going on in Florida. And you can see there's a lot of case law, there's statutes and all kinds of things dealing with assignment of benefits. So I'm going to unclick Florida for a minute. And just, Jeff mentioned that idea of coverage questions. When we get a coverage question in and we do some research and we think, hey, maybe somebody else might have the same question. So we write it up and put it in the database. We scrub any information that associates with a particular company, so we don't see that. And we get the coverage question. They're all basically set out with facts, the question, the policy language. We're always looking at the policy language, and then we have the response. And so sometimes you can find that this is also very helpful for you. Now, what if we go back to that loss and we say that the damage caused was minor denting? And so that idea of, is this more of a cosmetic loss? So we might want to do a search on something like that. So again, coverage research, PLRB search powered by Coveo. We get our box, and this is an idea of, we often think of policy terms. Direct physical loss is a policy term, hail or cosmetic. And again, we see the various types of documents. There's some coverage questions that dealt with it. We can see that there's some annotations. I'm going to click on the BPCP annotation. And again, here's the commercial annotation that deals with direct physical loss. And one of the things when I'm in here, I can do a Control F, or on an Apple computer, it's Command F, and it brings up a box. And here we were talking about hail types of losses. So another way of getting into the document and seeing the types of information there. So I did this Control F, found hail within the document. There's also the other highlighted terms as we go along. So now you're doing some research. We'll go back here. And you're not exactly finding what you want. And you remembered when we were in building codes, we could ask a building code question. Well, we see up here at the top, there's ask a coverage question. And when we're on the home page, coverage research, there's also a drop-down menu for ask a coverage question. I'm gonna go back there and click on that, ask a coverage question. Remember that idea of two sides of the office, first party property, liability auto. Click here, your contact information comes up. Sometimes we'll have a question, so we need to get back to you, so we ask that you check that out. A drop-down menu comes, choose a policy form. These are the basic ISO policy forms are here. Or your company may have submitted some manuscript policies. Remember I said when you logged on with your login information and password, you use your company email address. So this is associated with your company email address. So you could choose a drop-down file there, or if it's none of these, you can enter a policy name, LEAP 2 policy. The state of loss, we're always looking for what state the loss occurred in. We're always looking for case law or statutory law from your jurisdiction. We want to see if there's anything from your jurisdiction first. A lot of times on the first party property side, there's not as much case law. So if we don't find any case law in your jurisdiction, we might report back to you on case law from another jurisdiction just to see how a judge may have ruled. Policy language, you're looking at a specific point in the policy and your question has arisen. There's a water damage exclusion, so you're looking at the water damage exclusion. You're looking at particularly the surface water or water beneath the surface. You can copy and paste information there. Relevant facts. It rained, the water ran across the field down to the insured's stairs that go to the basement. The drain in front of the door was clogged with corn husks, and the water ran under the door. And the question is, does the water damage exclusion apply? Does the state of Florida apply the natural source rule? Something like that. And you hit submit, and we say that we get back to you within 5 business days. So we see a couple of other things up here at the top, and one of them is state annotations. Again, on the home page, we could go to coverage research and we see state annotations there also. And this is that state by state. When we did that search in coverage research in Coveo, and we saw the state by state, so we could also go to this state by state map, or we could do a pull down. We'll click on New York. And these are the topics that we've written state by states write-ups for. So you can see typically when there were 10 or more states that had case law or something on a particular topic, we gathered the information and did one of these state by states. So know that that's there. Just going to click back here. We covered that. The other thing is here we see the table of contents. I'm going to click on that. So that idea that you're using the form, you're using a homeowner's form, business owner's form, commercial policy form. Well, we do have these forms here, so I'm going to click on homeowner's annotation, could click on business owner, commercial policy. I'm going to click through that. I'm looking for a section here that says forms, and I'm going to click on that, and I see homeowners 3. That's the typical ISO policy form, that HO3 form, and I'm going to click on that. And you can see here is the ISO policy form, and you can see the links out to the annotations. So that idea where I said that those numbers, like this HO13, it isn't a policy number, it's PLRB's chapter or key number. I'm going to click on that, and I get through to the annotation. So one other thing, while we were here, the first time we clicked on that, we see something here that is tips for PLRB website. So this goes over a lot of the things that we're looking at today, the type of searches that can be done. One of the things that we didn't do today was an asterisk. If you start typing something out, you can use an asterisk as a term expander. Sometimes I'm not the best speller, and so I start typing a word and use an asterisk. That idea that we could put something in quotes, we're looking for it. I sometimes find that useful when I've got some policy wording and I have, about 5 lines of policy, and instead of having to search on each word, I put it in quotes, so it's looking for that. Talks about the state by states, the various documents that we have. We talk about some of the WeatherCats, the Maps and Apps portal, the lightning data, the storms alerts, building code. So know that that tips document is there. And then I just wanted to open, we'll go back to the home page. And as Jeff mentioned, the coronavirus document that we have, I'm going to actually click on that. Oops, there it comes. And know that there were a couple things there. He mentioned the map that seems to be slowly coming up, and we can click on a particular state, as Jeff was saying, and you can see the emergency declarations, the stay-at-home updates, and various things like that there. There also is a document here, first-party property claims. I'm going to click on that. And that has the various topics. The big one that seems to be emerging right now is dealing with business income. So know that that's there. So we saw that. We're going to click back through here on the home page. The other way is we could go in here, COVID. We could just type that in when we're doing a search. So know that there's typically a couple of different ways to get into documents on the PLRB website. And so I did that search. I didn't click on any collection type, and I'm getting back to that document that we had been looking at on the first party property side. So just by typing that in, we can get there. So we've looked at a few things under coverage research. We've looked at a few things under WeatherCats. Just know that there's also an Ask a WeatherCats question in that section. And now we're going to flip over here for just a minute to the education department. Jeff mentioned that idea that some people need CE approved credit and there aren't live classes to go to. So you can go to the PLRB website, hover over education, go down to modules, open that up, and we see CE approved modules. And you can click on that. It launches a module. The modules are typically in 5 or 6 sections. There's a little test after each section to get on to the next one. At the very end, you enter your licensing information for the state. That goes back to somebody at PLRB, and they submit that to the state for you. I think there's also a section you can submit to your boss, and they'll get a message that you completed a section like that. One other thing that Jeff mentioned in the education department were podcasts. So just clicking on that for a minute, that you can see that there's a number of podcasts that we do there, so that you can know that those are there. So that's a quick live demonstration of various things on our website. Tanda, maybe it's time for another polling question.
Thank you, David. I'm going to go ahead and launch our next polling question. Based on the tools, resources presented, which PLRB service are you most likely to use in the next week? Audience, the poll is currently open for voting.
While you're voting, I will just mention that the next section is a Q&A section. So if you have any questions, please submit them. If there's anything that you want us to go over again, let us know about that too. If there's something that you missed out on, submit that as a question, and we can go back to that at this point. Tanda, how is that poll going?
It's going great, David. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll at this time and share the results. 47% said coverage research, 7% said building codes, 27% said weather cats, and 19% said CE modules for credit.
Oh, that's great to hear. Okay, so now we'll go to any questions that we might have. I guess I need to ask Tanda, are there anything that we need to go back to?
Well, David, we did receive a few questions. We'll start with one for you. Stephanie wants to know, how often are building codes updated?
The building codes are constantly being updated. Now, we could go to a building code. I think my screen is still showing, because I wanted to show you something here. We'll do alphabetical. I'll go to Ohio and Akron. And for instance, we don't have the code right now. So now I might click on to have the building code go in and look for that. And so they're constantly doing that, and they're constantly adding new. So I would suggest, even if you find something, you can ask the building code department a question to say, is this the most updated? So I hope that answers her question.
Thank you, David. We also have a question for Andrew from Neil and Chrissy. They wanted to know if they have a problem with the web app, a weather app, working properly, who should they contact, or how can they get assistance with that?
Yeah, you can contact me. I'm sure we can put my contact information up on there.
And Andrew, I just hovered over Weather Cats, went down to ask a Weather Cats question, and opened that up.
Yeah, that'll come directly to me too, so you can do that as well. Mm-hmm.
All right, Andrew, it looks like Deanna has a follow-up question for you as well. Is the weather information updated daily?
Yes, we load the previous day's data early in the morning. So for example, today we would load yesterday's data around 7 a.m. today. And yeah, we load everything I just showed, the storm reports, the NextRed, hail size, estimate polygons, lightning information, all that.
And it's loaded on Saturdays, Sundays, Christmas.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. PLRB does not take a day off when it comes to loading the weather data.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, and Nan has a question. Is there a place to research slip and fall cases or legislation? Or could we just submit a coverage question on those issues?
That sounds like a liability question. And so we could go in and do a search, coverage research, PLRB search powered by Coveo, do a search that way. Also ask a coverage question. And I am beginning to recommend more and more, especially on the liability side. There is so much case law out there on the liability side that we might not have it all on the PLRB website. So if you maybe start a little bit of research and you don't find anything, please submit a question and the attorneys on that side of the office will go out and look for it.
And Suzanne has a question. She noticed an aerial picture. She wants to know, does PLRB have historical imagery? For example, could she be able to go back and view aerials after Hurricane Michael or another event?
Yes, for major hurricanes, we do find post-event imagery from NOAA, and some of that is available on the web apps through our portal. So we do have a Hurricane Michael web app, which would show the NOAA post-event imagery. But for typical events like hailstorms and smaller tornadoes, we typically don't have aerial imagery for that.
All right, thank you, Andrew. And Jeff, we have a question from Miriam. She wants to know, this is a very basic question for people who don't have a lot of experience with the website. How would she gain access to all of this wonderful information? For example, how would she log in? And does she need to have management approval before doing so?
If your company is a member, which presumably everyone on today is from a member company, then you don't need any permission. David can walk you through, but this is the home page that we're looking at. And if you click on About Us on the home page and scroll down, it says Get a Password. So David, can you click on that? And then what you would do there is, David, you don't need to do this, David, because it will mess things up probably for you, but you would type in your company email address. It can't be your personal Gmail or Hotmail or Yahoo account. It has to be your company email, because that's how we know that you have permission to access. We have the email address domains of all of our member companies, and then it will ask you to fill out a 30-second profile thing of basically your name, an email address we already have, and then a phone number so that we can contact you if we have any questions. And that's about it. And then you will have immediate access to everything that your membership includes. And we do recommend everybody to get their own password and not to share passwords, because if you submit a coverage question, for example, and you are using a coworker's password, what will happen is we will think it came from your coworker, and we will reply to your coworker, and they won't know that you submitted a question and you'll never get the answer. Or if you're taking a module, you want to get credit, CE credit, or you want to show your supervisor that you took a module. If you're borrowing someone else's password from your company, you won't get credit for that. So it's unlimited number of passwords. It does not cost any money whatsoever to get as many passwords as your company wants.
Thank you, Jeff. That concludes the question and answer period. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions. If we were unable to get to your question, feel free to reach out to one of our staff members for further information. Now we'll change the program back over to Jeff Currency for some closing remarks.
Thank you, Tanda. So I know that we went over an awful lot of things today, and it can be kind of information overload. And we wanted to just kind of show you what there is out there in PLRB land, but we encourage you to take the time to get to know us better, reach out to us. You don't have to spend forever on it. We have classes at our conferences, but more importantly right now, If you go to our website, we have tutorials available that go into more detail about how to perform a coverage search. We do live webinars for individual companies that are customized to their needs. You can follow us on Facebook or Twitter. Subscribe to our weekly email frontlines. And lastly, we're just a phone call away. The way I always remember our phone number, which is 888-711-7572, is 7572 spells out PLRB. So you just have to remember 7-Eleven, the convenience store, and 888. But the important thing is if you want to use a weather map app or what have you, or you want to search for something, just call us on the phone. If you're struggling or you can't remember how to do it, or it wasn't enough detail, just call us up. If you can't get someone immediately, someone will call you back that day, if not sooner. And they'll be happy to spend 5 minutes and just show you, what to do and how to find what you need. So that really concludes it, but we just, on behalf of Tanda and Andrew and David, myself, I just wish everyone to be safe, stay healthy, and remember, we are a nonprofit organization. We are here to help you, and we've always been there. We've always been online. We've always been available by phone. This is not something that we're suddenly adjusting to. So we know what we're doing. We know how to reach out to people in these uncertain times. So don't be a stranger. We look forward to hearing from you.